Greetings, Pilgrims. Welcome back to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today we're going to be continuing with our Ultimate Battle Royale series. Now, today we are going to be focusing on our play button. We're going to make this really cool drawer where the play button extends to show us the various types of play. We can do solos, we can do duos, we can do trios, or we can do a team setup. All right? So we're going to need a couple of things. We're going to do a little bit of animating inside of Unity today. We're going to write a script. Don't worry, we'll go over it together line by line. And then we're going to apply everything and just make sure that works. And then from here, we're going to get into working on our character, working on getting our player into the scene. And we'll have the framework that we need to select the type of gameplay so that later on, when we say, hey, I want to play with a teammate, we have this set up, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. First things first, we have our play button here. Our play menu takes up the whole screen. And then we have here, just a container rather. Then we have our play button drawer. We have the base of it. We have the play button itself. And then we have the drawer pull. So similar to the way that a drawer works in like your desk or something, there's the actual handle you grab and you pull that and it pulls the drawer open, right? This is a similar effect here. So if I zoom in here, let's take a look over here. Our drawer pull is this button right here. And you can see that if I extend these things here, underneath my drawer, which is the whole container, we have this bottom, mid, and top. Those are the three containers that we had earlier, right? So if I take the whole drawer and I move it, watch what happens. You'll see that underneath this are those other three buttons. So what we're going to do today is we're going to animate this so that when we press the drawer pull, that handle to open our drawer, it's going to animate the drawer to open and show us these other three buttons. Now, we're going to go one step further, and when we click those buttons, it's going to switch the order. So, for example, if I press the button to extend it and say, I want to now do teams, well, it should put teams as the one that is going to show here, and then order the others in sort of the logical remaining order, right? So that would be solos, duos, and trios. Or if you pick trios, then it should be solos, duos, and then a squad or a team, right? So we're going to set all that up, okay? So we're going to need one script, some animation, a little bit of work in the animator today, and then we're going to tie everything together. Sound good? Okay, so let's do this together. So first up, we're going to need a script. So I'm going to go ahead in here and go into our scripts folder. We're going to right-click and say Create New C# Script. And this script is going to be called Play Button Drawer. So just like that. Capital P, capital B, capital D as in dog. So I'm going to double click this and open up this script. So I'm going to open here in Visual Studio. And we're going to go top to bottom together pretty quickly, but enough, slow enough that we can follow. And if you need to, you can always pause the video, all right? So up here, I'm going to add a few things because of what we're going to be working with today. We're going to be doing a using TM Pro, just like that. So this is to do Text Mesh Pro. So we have the really fancy buttons with a really nice crisp imagery for the text. And then we won't use this today, but I'm going to add this here. So don't worry about following this too much. System.runtime.interrupt services. This is going to be for some of the more intricate stuff we're going to do later on, but we need this here so that when we come back to this script, it's ready for us. Okay, let's go ahead and add some variables. So, variables. So here we're going to add, first things up, we're going to do our public static play button drawer, just like it's named here. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to call that, this is a variable of type of this script, and I'm going to call that instance. And you'll see that in a moment. We're going to need an animator. So public animator. We'll call this draw animator. Very good. We need a public bool to say whether or not the drawer is open. Drawer open. There we go. And this is going to tell us whether or not the drawer is open or closed. We can tell that by true or false. That's what booleans can be, true or false. Okay, I'm going to put a little fanciness here. We're going to have a nice little header. So this is just a way to kind of organize your code, your variables in the inspector rather. So I'm going to say text Mesh Pro objects. So this is all the Text Mesh Pro stuff we're going to put in here. So public text. Now this is Text Mesh Pro UGUI, okay? So this is for Unity Graphical User Interface, UGUI. And then we're going to have a whole bunch of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to call it X for right now. I'm going to copy this whole line and then go paste, paste, paste. You have 4 in total, okay? Then I'm going to rename this first one X to selected mode. So this is what is the mode that we have selected currently. And this is top mode. And this is mid mode. And then the bottom one is, if you can guess, yep, bot mode or bottom mode, just to keep them all 3 letters nice and short. Okay, we need just a few more variables. So let's make another section here. Public integer int order set. And we need a public int of selected position. Okay, and all this is kind of the interplay. You'll see in a moment that we're gonna make all this stuff. Now we need one more variable, and this is a little confusing, but it's a public integer array of called order. So these 2 doubles right here like this is for an array. That means it can be a whole bunch of things, and we'll see that in a moment when we go look at the script. Okay. Next up, we're not going to need, well, we are going to need start, but we're going to also need the awake statement. So the difference is, awake is called actually right before start. Awake is like your initialization, your kind of setup stuff, right? So right here is where we're going to say instance is equal to this, meaning, whoops, just like that. Just like that. Our instance variable right here, we're saying is equal to this copy of this script only, right? So that means we can do the play button drawer dot instance dot, and we can call things inside of here. And we'll see that in a little bit as well. Okay, so in the start function, we're going to just set up the initial setup, the kind of like when, as soon as you start the game, this is kind of what it defaults to, right? So we're going to say order set is equal to 0, because in C# we count 0 is the first place. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is our initial setup. And we're going to say order is equal to a new integer array. And we're going to define the bounds of this array. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. This means that our array inside of order int is going to have these 4 places. And the default is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So now we're going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different functions. Okay? And don't worry, it's not a whole bunch, and it doesn't really, it's not scary. It just feels like it's a lot of code because we're typing out a lot today. But don't worry about that. All right, let me look quickly. I don't know that we use the update function. I don't believe we do. So we can actually get rid of that just to kind of save us a little bit of features. We'll get rid of that. Get rid of the update function. We don't need that. Make a little bit of room here. We're going to write a couple of new functions together. Okay, first up is a public void, and we're going to call this switch order set. Okay, we're going to tell it it's going to take in an integer called set number. Which set do we want? And I'm going to do that. There you go. So this is our nice little thing. So this function, when we call it, we have to tell it which set number we want to use. And inside this, we're going to use a switch statement. So I don't know if you ever used a switch statement before, but it's kind of like a fancy, it's like a fancy if. Because what you can do here is you can just tell it, instead of saying if this, if this, if this, you can just say switch. And switch based upon the set number I have entered. So when I call this function, it's going to say, take my set number, and based upon which set number I use, do this if it's this, do this if it's that. So essentially it's an if, but it's a much more organized and better way to do an if. So we do it in cases. So case 0, meaning in case set number that gets passed in is 0, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to leave a note here for you. We're going to set our order for solo. Okay? We're going to say order is equal to new int array. And we're going to define this as 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is the default one, right? And then we have to say break. This is the command for telling the case, this case statement, and therefore the switch statement, I'm done with this case. Now you can start defining the next case. All right? So I'm going to hit enter, enter, and then backspace once. Here you go. So case 1. So in case we pass in a 1, what do I want you to do? Well, I want you to set the order for duos. Okay? And order is equal to new int array. And this one is going to be 2, 1, 3, 4. The reason being if you've chosen duos, the 2, meaning 2 players, should be the top one or the selected one. And then the rest of the order, this is what I was talking about. It kind of falls in the line of having 1, 3, then 4, right? That's the next logical order. If you've chosen 2 playing duos, these are the other ones that you could choose. And this is the most logical order. Instead of doing it like 3, 1, 4, whatever, let's just do it kind of in numeric order, but with the one you selected kind of taken out of place. Okay. And then we'll do another break on that. Now, to speed things along here, what we can do is we can actually just copy paste. So I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to copy this whole thing and do a paste. And we just have to change this to say 2. And we're going to change this to say trios. And then we can change this to say 3, right? And then we say 1, 2, 4, because those are the remaining ones. All right, once again, paste. And we're going to say 4. Set this for, call this teams. And this one is going to say new int is 4, 1, 2, 3. Just like that. So those are all the different possibilities, right? If we've chosen solos, 1 is the selected, and the remaining 3 are the other choices. So that checks out. Very good. Good job. Now, we need one more thing in here before we leave. So let's come down here, and we need to do our default. Wow, learn to spell that. Okay, there we go. Default. And this we're just going to say, just go back. Do nothing. Because it's going to be one of these 4. We're going to make sure of it, but this is the way you have to do a switch statement, is it must have at least one case, and it must have a default, meaning if we happen to pass in 5, what would it do, right? The default, if it doesn't match one of these, is what do I do? Okay. Cool. We're done with that. So now let's close that up. There we go. So those are for there. So we can actually close that guy up and come down here. Now we're going to create 2 functions here to open and close the drawer. These are functions that we're going to call from buttons, right? So public void open drawer. And we don't need to put anything inside of it because we're just going to say, do this absolutely. Don't ask questions, right? So drawer animator dot set bool. And we're going to create one called close. I'm going to say set this to false. If we are opening the drawer, then set close to false. And then drawer animator dot set bool open. We'll set that one to true. I want you to open the door, right? Perfect. Now what I'm going to do is copy this whole function and paste it again, and then we're going to change this to close. So close drawer, and we're just going to do the opposite here. So open is going to get closed by saying false, and then close is going to get called true. The reason I do it this way is this is the option I want. I want to open and I want to close, right? So to make absolutely sure that that one is chosen, this is just a habit. I don't have any proof that this is good programming or bad programming. I just say, do the other thing I don't want, set that to false first, then do the thing I want to true. That way I make absolutely sure there's nothing in the way of it. So again, that's just something that I do. So there you go. Okay. Now, next one up is a simple little function. When we click the drawer pool, we need a function for that. So public void drawer pool clicked. So this is going to be what happens, pardon me, when we click that button, right? So we're going to do a couple things. First, we're going to ask a question. If not drawer open, right there. So if the drawer is closed currently, right? Then we want to say, well, then open the drawer, because this is going to be the default state when we launch the game, right? It's going to be closed at first. And I'm going to say drawer open is equal to true, because we just opened the drawer, right? Else, the other thing that we're going to do is if that means, else means if not, see the exclamation mark? If not drawer open, meaning if drawer open is false. This is what this equates to. Drawer open is equal to false. Right? So that's what this is asking. Is drawer open false? If it's true, we go in here and we open the drawer because it is currently closed. Else means the opposite of this. So if it's true instead of false, we're going to come in here. So if true, that means it's currently open and we need to close it because we clicked it again, right? You click it, it opens. You click it, it closes. Nice and simple functionality. There you go. So that's what that does. Nice and easy. So I'm going to go beep boop. There we go. And we have two more functions. Almost done. Next up is a public void. And this one's called drawer button pressed. And we're going to pass in an int position. There you go. And what this guy does is when we actually press one of those buttons, let's say I want to choose a mode like solos, duos, whatever, then we need to do a couple of things, right? First, let's leave ourselves a note. We're going to get the index of order for the position that we've entered, right? So we're going to say selected position is equal to order. Remember our array of orders that we made up there? We're going to say position. Since position, we're passing in here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to say, hey, go to order, which is in here. We can go to order and say, hey, based upon the number that we've put in, which one of these do I want? Okay? And we have that. So now we're going to say switch order set position. Okay, so that's going to be calling this switch order set, and we're going to pass in. So when we call in here, it's going to say, hey, pass that number in and go through here and set this up for us. The other one was we were asking order, but this one we're actually passing into here. All right. That's all good. You'll see it work in a second. It'll make a ton more sense than seeing it here. Now, mode select is another one that I don't think we've made yet, so it's going to complain at first, but we're going to pass in our selected position. So it'll complain about that right now because I haven't made that yet. It'll say, hey, does not exist in the current context. Yeah, I haven't written it yet. We will in a moment. And then we're going to say drawer open is equal to false. Because when we click one of the choices, right? I click the drawer pull, it opens. I choose duos because you and I are going to play together, right? Cool. When I click that, I want the drawer pull to then close because I've selected my new option. Okay. Perfect. Now, one final little thing that we're going to build is one last little function is this one, this mode selected it's complaining about currently, right? And this is going to be another big switch statement, so get ready for that. But it's fine. It's fine. You got this. Okay, so mode select. I keep wanting to take the word model because I've been doing that a lot. Mode select, we're going to pass in an int mode. Now this is, like I said, the solos, duos, teams, whatever. So we're going to pass in a number which equates to the mode that we've chosen. And you see this stopped being squiggly because now it exists because we typed it. Very cool. So we're going to switch on mode. And let's open that up. And I'm going to say case 1. And we're going to say change selected to selected mode dot text is equal to solo space dash space 1 dash layer. Just like that. So this is the actual text that we're going to be changing this to, right? And then we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to say change top TMP, text message pro, to, so the top one, if we've selected solos, the first one, the selected one, is the one that shows, and the other 3, top, middle, bottom, in that list are going to be as follows. Top mode.text is equal to duos. Duos. I try to make them all 4 letters to make it nice and simple so that it flows nicely too. So that's why it's solo, duos, trios, team. That's why that was chosen, just in case you're interested. Change mid TMP to mid mode.text is equal to, and this is going to be trio, 3 players. And then finally, well, finally for these 3, change BOT bottom TMP. Yep, 2. Come on, fingers. There we go. Bottom mode dot text is equal to team dash 4 players. Okay, looks nice and set up there. Now we're going to close the drawer. So close drawer. So we have that nice little function we've made. Now, don't forget, we need our break statement. So we're going to come here and say break. Okay. So that was one case statement. We're going to do the other 3 now, right? But like we did before, no big deal. We're going to copy paste. So copy paste and then make this 2. So this is going to say, if we've selected 2, then we want to change our thing to say 2 players, right? And then we need 1, 3, and 4. So I'm going to come up here and copy 1, copy that, put that here. There you go, paste. Perfect. So if I've selected 2, it's 2, 1, 3, 4. Then I'm going to come up here and copy 1 again, just so it's easier to do this changing of the text. And here I'm going to go underneath the break and say, boop. And this is going to be case 3, because we just did case 1 and 2. So following along, same thing, we're going to do 3 players here. There you go, paste that. Come up here and grab solo. So it'll be 3, 1, 2, 4. So I need 2 from here. I guess I can just copy from here. That's fine. 3, 1, 2, 4. Right? 3, 1, 2, 4. There you go. And one more time. Grab this. See, it's not so bad. And these are one-time setups, so it's okay to do it this way. I'm sure there's a more efficient way, but this is a nice and easily understood manner for you guys, so I didn't want it to be too out of your wheelhouse. You know, want to make sure it's easy to follow and makes sense. So now if we're doing 4 players, well, obviously we want that there, and we need 1, 2, 3 after that. So copy, and we'll do paste. 2. Should have done that to there first, but that's okay. We can do 3 here. And there we go. So that's 4 players, 1, 2, 3. Makes sense, right? Okay. And then all the way at the bottom, we're going to say default. What are we going to do? We're going to break. And that's it. That's our script done. Congratulations, you wrote a ton of lines of code. So I'm going to hit save and get out of there. We'll let it compile. Make sure there's no errors, no problems. Nope, none of that. Excellent, that's what we like to see. All right, so now let's hook up what we've got going on. So with our play menu selected, the overall play menu, I'm going to click and drag and just drop this over here. And you'll see we have a whole bunch of stuff showed up now. So this is all the stuff that we were organizing over here. And for right now, we can just leave it alone, okay? So we are going to set up a couple of the things here. So what we need is drawer active. So what we have here is, let's see here, yep. Which one are you? There you are, okay. Drawer pull is this guy here. So this guy is the one that's going to change his text and his name to show the one that we've selected. So for that, let's go to our play menu, and that's going to be our selected mode. We're looking for a Text Mesh Pro text to change, and that's this guy here. So underneath drawer pull, his text property, we're going to put that right in there. There you go. Now, for the top, middle, and bottom, those are these 3 here. And I have these in the wrong order here. They should be top, middle, bottom. Pardon me. So like this, top, middle, bottom. Just, you know, organizationally to see it here. So now, to put those in place, I'm going to select the play menu, and I'm going to hit the button up here to say lock my inspector, meaning this won't change based upon what I have selected. And that just makes it easier to kind of connect these things now. So from the top, I'm going to drag to top. And that's not working because, there you go, I need the text inside of it. There you go. It's not a property on this, it's underneath this. So middle, go to middle, and bottom, go to bottom. Now, this is probably going to work, but you see, notice how they're all labeled text. So we really should change that to say top text, bottom text eventually. You know, right now I just have them all as text, 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 because that's the default that it comes with. But we'll change that in a moment. Okay, so with all of that set up, let's take a look at what else we need to do. So on our play button drawer, that's the thing we're going to need to animate, right? Let's go ahead and close this up. And we'll close you up as well. So play button drawer is the whole thing. And if I move it, you see this has those guys back there, right? So we need to animate this guy. So let's go down to animation. If this is not here, you can get it from Window, and I believe it's under Animation, not Animator, but Animation, or Control 6. And that will bring this up. And I just dock it down here along with my project in console. So we're going to say create. And I'm going to point to animation. And this is a Unity animation that we're creating. And we're going to call this one play button drawer underscore slide out. Doesn't have to be exactly that. That's just what I called it. There you go. So this shows up like this. And I'll show you one of the really cool features of this is if I go to my play button drawer, let's see. Play button drawer should have its own. Oh, yeah, let's uncheck this. See, once again, I click this and I go, this doesn't look right. Don't forget, once we're done hooking things up here, uncheck this again so that you can get back to your actual data here. Because this was different. And I was like, why is that not right? Okay. So with the play button drawer selected, we have an animation created. We're going to start animating things. A really cool feature of this is the record button. So if I just hit record mode, now I'm in record mode. You can see this is darkened. Anything I do, it'll just animate it for me. So we want our animation to be pretty short. I'm only going to have it be half a second. So I'm going to move to the half a second mark right there. 0:30, because 1 second would be right here. And I know that I want my animation for the drawer pull to come down to a certain amount. I've already predetermined it, and it should be, if I go into the Y position here, that's the up and down, I'm going to set this to minus 424. That should be what I do. I can hit enter. And you'll see it made a key for me here right now because I'm in record mode. So now if I scrub this back and forth, you see it opens up. Very cool. And it's exactly enough that we can see all of them and all that. So we're all good there. Okay. So I'm going to turn off recording mode so I don't accidentally record something I don't want to. And we need to change these values a little bit. I like having them a certain way. So I'm going to click and select the whole group like this. Then anywhere right here, I'm going to right click and you'll see this dialog come up. At the bottom here where it says both tangents, I'm going to go to linear. You won't see any visual difference, but this changes how the motion occurs. And it's just a little subtle thing that I like when it comes open and close, that kind of thing. Okay, so we're done with that. Now let's go to Assets, Animation, Unity Animations, and you can see our animation that we just made should be right here. Yep, this one, the arrow with, the triangle with the little line saying motion. That means it's an animation. Down here, it'll tell you the path, so you can make sure it's the right one. And by default, it is a looping animation. We want to uncheck that because we don't want it to loop. Really should not. This should be the default, really, Unity, because more often than not, you don't want something to loop. Anyway, so now that that's complete, we can scrub our animation. You can see it work. Very cool. Let's work on the animator for this guy, okay? Not going to be tough at all, but we did call out some values that we have to make sure are there when it comes time for the code to reach that point. So for our play button drawer, you can see here we have an animator now. So if I double check that, yep. And it's turned off, but it will be on when it plays. It's kind of weird. And this is, I think there's a little bit of a bug personally. But you see that it created a controller for us. So every animation needs a controller to tell it how to work and when to play and that sort of thing. So if we just double click this, you'll see that it opened over here for me. And I open over here. And this is what it looks like by default. It just says, hey, right from the entry, right away when the game starts playing, whatever, I'm just going to play this animation. Well, that's not quite what we want, okay? So first things first, I'm going to take my any state and just put it there. Put my entry right beneath it. Now I'm going to right click and say, I want to create a new state, a new empty state. And I always call these states wait, because I want it to wait before it does something else. Now, I don't want this to play right away. I want my wait animation, quote unquote, to play. There's no animation, so it will do nothing until I tell it to. So I'm going to right click and say, set as layer default state. And you'll see what will happen is this dark arrow here points to this guy now. And now I can say, you are what I want you to do right away. Okay, let's close that up and put it right there. So we can't see it, but that's what's happening because it's going right here. So right now, if we were to just play the game, it would never work because it's never pointing to this animation. So what we want to do is I'm going to put one copy of the animation over here. And I'm going to hit Control and D and duplicate the animation. And I'm going to move it over here. All right. Now, what's going to happen is this one, with it selected, the one on the right, I'm going to go up here to the speed and say -1, which means it's going to play the animation backwards. That way we don't need to have a separate animation that goes backwards. We just play the first one backwards. This doesn't always work with everything, but for this, a simple slide in, slide out works just fine. All right. Now we need 2 parameters because we did call those out in the script. So I'm going to go over to the parameters tab here inside of the animator. I'm going to say new. I'm going to say Boolean. I'm going to call this open. Just like that. It has to be just like we had it in the code. Okay. And then say another one. Boolean. Close. That simple. That easy. Now we're going to set up some transitions. Okay. So transitions are from my wait statement. I'm going to right click and say make transition. And you see now it has this little arrow and it's like, where do you want me to go? I want you to go play my animation. Then we're going to say, okay, we need to come back from that animation, right? So I'm going to say right click here, make transition, back to waiting. And then same thing here, right click, make transition to our slide in technically. And then this right click, make transition back to here. So you see we have these 2 back and forth arrows. Now we need to tell it, you're only going to follow these arrows when we tell you to. And what we did in the code is the code is going to reach into this and say, check these boxes, true and false. That's basically what the code is doing for us. So here we're going to say, hey, go back and forth on these arrows only when these boxes are checked. So it's kind of like a baton race. You know, here, you do this and you tell the other guy to do the next thing. So what we're going to do here is this arrow right here, we're going to say our conditions here. See that? We're going to say you're only going to go from here to here when the condition of open is true, which when I click the plus button here to add a condition, that's the default. Cool. That's nice and easy. Couldn't be simpler. Let's select this arrow. So coming back, what do we want to do? We want to come back only when close is true and open is false, technically. But we're just going to do the one and it works fine. So add a condition. I'm going to say drop down, close is true. Then we're going to do a similar thing over here. But what we need to do is it's actually reverse because we want it when we want to close it. So what we need to do is this arrow is going to be condition when close is true, okay? And then this other arrow here is going to be when open is true, all right? Because when we want open is true, it's going to come back to wait. It's going to leave this state, and then it's going to go over here. So you'll see it kind of do like this little figure 8 kind of looking thing. Okay, save that, we're done. You can close your animator, close tab, and back to your scene. All right, so we need to do a little bit more hooking things up, and then we should be good to test it out. So let's take a look here. I'm going to drag this over here. Okay, so that is our play button drawer, and it has the animation all set up. Now, if we go back to our drawer pull, let's see, just double checking myself. Drawer pull, here it is. So he is a button because we set that up last time, right? So he has the ability to have this on click. When you click this button, what do you want it to do? So we're going to say new, plus there. And you'll see it gives us a couple options here. Runtime only, meaning it won't work in the editor. That's fine. And then we have an object here that we can drag and drop as a reference. And then you see it says no functions. We can call out a function on that object. So we're going to call our play menu here. Click and drag that to here. So I'm dragging from play menu and dropping right here. Now I can see this lit up. It still says no function, but it lit up. So now if I click this, I can go play button drawer and I can call out a function. So I'm going to call out my function of drawer pull clicked. There you go. So now when I click the drawer pull, it's going to call drawer pull clicked. Makes sense, right? Okay. Last couple little bits of things to do here. Excuse me. Okay. So we need to do one final thing. And we're going to go into our play button drawer for our top, mid, and bottom, right? So for these guys, let me just double check these guys real quick. Make sure I haven't messed any of this up. Okay, looks good, looks good. These guys are also going to have an on click, right? Because when they're exposed, when they're open, we need to click them. So we're going to say on click, same kind of thing. Play menu, drag and drop it in there. And this is going to be a little bit more complicated. We're going to say play button drawer And in here, we're going to say drawer button pressed. And you see it says integer. It's saying, what number do you want me to pass in? So for the top one, it's going to be 1. And I'm going to do the same thing over and over again here. So for mid, I'm going to do the same thing. Button pressed. Yep, integer. And for mid, he's going to be 2. And then for the bottom one, I believe he's going to be 3. Yes. Okay. Bottom one. One more right there. Play button drawer. 3. There we go. Okay, so that should be everybody. Just doing a quick cursory check here, make sure there's nothing that I missed. That's going to be for a later episode. That's all set. We should be good. So let's review. Real quick. We're missing one more thing. Can you see what it is? We haven't hooked up the animator yet, right? The animator from our play button drawer. So from our play button drawer, I'm going to click and drag and drop right there. And it knows to look in that and find the animator associated with that. Everything else looks pretty good. So moment of truth. Let's give it a test. Let's do a quick save. Make sure we save all of our hard work. File save. There we go. And let's see how it works. All right, so we should be able to click this button and it opens up. And if we choose something else, it changes and closes up. There we go, click that button, it opens up. Choose duos, closes up. A little bit of a hitch there, so I'm gonna have to take a look and see what's going on there. Let me check my reference over here. My reference is nice and smooth, so I'm wondering what the hitch is. So I'm going to have to look into that hitch. So give me just a second. I'm going to look in the hitch and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're back. I did find one little problem that we have here. Some of my settings inside the animator are not quite right. So we have has exit time. We're going to turn that off. So this is inside your animator for the play button drawer. And for this first arrow downward, I'm going to turn off the has exit time. And we're going to turn the transition duration down to 0. All this we want to kind of happen instantly. We want these transitions to happen pretty instantly, right? So we're just going to click around here and make sure we got everything good. So this guy, so same kind of thing. We're actually going to leave him alone, but we're going to uncheck that and that. So no exit time, no fixed duration, but the duration 0.25 is fine. That looks good there. So let's check one more time. Check these guys. This guy, same kind of thing. I'm going to put the exit time. Should be 0 if possible. And then uncheck fixed duration and uncheck has exit time entirely, really. There you go. Okay. And then one last arrow to look at. This guy here. Yep, we're just going to uncheck and uncheck. And that should be fine as well. Save. Okay, let's see if that fixes it. If not, not to worry. I will definitely get this working for you guys fully, but this should be good. There you go, right away. Yep, that's what it was. So we're all good now, guys. Let's go ahead and maximize our view. And we're all set. So now, here we are. Solo one player, I click and choose anyone else, and it changes us. And the others in the list are changed to what they should be. So for example, if I say duos, right? Like I said, we're going to play together. I open this guy up. The remaining options should be in order: solo, trio, teams. And there they are. You can click any of them that you like. It'll just kind of swap us around. I keep doing duos. There you go. Solos. There you go. Duos, trios, teams. Let's do teams. 4 players. Perfect. We got it working. Okay. So sorry about that. I forgot about the couple little settings in there. There's a lot to cover here, but you guys did great. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me. A lot more to come. We got so much to do, and we're about to get into the really exciting stuff. As you've been seeing, I've been partnering with Mike, Big Shot Studios. Shout out to him for all his help. And we are going to be doing so much cool stuff with the characters, the worlds, aiming, shooting. All that stuff is coming really soon. We're getting really close to it because we're getting everything set up. We're doing things kind of in an order of the way that you experience the game, right? So this is great. Great job today. As always, guys, I'm going to make sure this is in the GitHub repo. You guys can just pull to update if you want. But, I do recommend follow the tutorial. learn the code, what it's doing, why it's doing it. You gain a lot by doing it yourself. I get a lot of people who say, just give me the download. Okay, well, no, because you're not going to learn that way. And I want to teach. I want you to become better than you were today. I want you to be better tomorrow. So that's what we're all about. So come join us. Tell your friends, your family, whatever. Get everybody in and let's just make awesome stuff together. All right? So I really appreciate you guys' help and hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm going to go because it's going to be a lot to edit. And I will catch you guys next time. So keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.